Hello and welcome to the Dream Team Professor podcast. My name is Scott, and in this episode, we're looking at the top players to target in Game Week 32 Sun Dream Team. Now, you'll have to excuse me. I'm just recording this straight after Arsenal progress to the next round after beating Real Madrid over 2 legs. So I'll try my best not to turn this into an Arsenal podcast and keep it on Dream Team. So Game Week 32 is a Premier League double game week for 4 sides. We've got Man City, Arsenal, Villa and Palace all doubling. Both Premier League fixtures as well this week. So Game Week 33 has got the FA Cup semi-finals. Those Premier League matches clashed with the weekend's FA Cup matches. So some of those matches have been moved into Game Week 32, giving City, Arsenal, Villa and Palace doubles this week. So the deadline is 1:30 on Saturday. So a bit of a late one, no early kickoff. This one's ahead of the 3 p.m. So quite a few teams all kicking off at the same time. Game Week 32, these doubles, I do feel like they could potentially be a little bit of a trap when it comes to double game weeks. So we've started to see recently that a lot of these doubles haven't really been true doubles because of what other teams have been having going on in Europe, for example, in Arsenal's situation or Villa's situation. And then we're also, where we're having this semi-final in Game Week 33 in the FA Cup for City, Villa and Palace, I'm a little bit wary that those teams might go a little bit rotated in the second fixture because there is just 3 days between their second match in the double game week and then their semi-final at the weekend. So that is something to be a little bit wary of. Maybe it won't end up being a typical double where everyone plays twice. Arsenal, there is actually a bit of a longer gap between their second fixture and what looks like it's going to be a blanking Game Week 33 for Arsenal is now going to be a home fixture against PSG. So they'll have a week between their second match and that PSG first leg, which will be in midweek. They won't have a fixture at the weekend. But just if you're looking on the Dream Team app or ffstuff.co.uk, hasn't quite updated at the time of recording. I think that'll update by the morning anyway. So yeah, just one thing to look out for. Could be a little bit of rotation. So Spurs, United, Chelsea, still to be confirmed whether they'll have European fixtures put into Game Week 33. But if they do, the doubles, that one will be just targeting the teams that have Europe, apart from Arsenal, who, like I said, don't have a match at the weekend. Villa have been eliminated this week from the Champions League, so no double game week for them in Game Week 33. But we still have got to wait and find out whether those teams in the Europa League do end up going through. So Game Week 32 singles. So I've mentioned double game week teams. We've got City, Arsenal, Villa and Palace. Actually, let's go through those. So City have got Everton away from home and Villa at home. Arsenal got Ipswich away from home with Crystal Palace at home, which are looking at a tough fixture, but had a dodgy week themselves. Aston Villa have got a tough double. So it's Newcastle at home, then City away. And then Crystal Palace, Bournemouth at home, Arsenal away. In terms of singles, you've got Liverpool facing Leicester away from home. So pretty much a prime fixture for Liverpool. Only 2 wins needed now for them to become Premier League champions. So I imagine they'll be one step closer after that Leicester match. And then we've got West Ham also got quite a nice fixture at home to Southampton. Then maybe at a push, you could pick out Manchester United playing against Wolves at home. But Wolves have actually started to turn a corner now and looking in good form themselves, with United starting to go in the other direction. So maybe that one could be one to wait. But in general, I think Liverpool, if you have got Liverpool players, you're not going to be taking them out ahead of a single against Leicester. But I don't really feel like there's that much else to target in terms of single game week sides. Let me know if you think I'm wrong and there's some single game weeks that you like the look of here. But for me, it's going to be targeting the doubles still. If you're a regular listener or watcher, you know that at this point, we normally do look at the longer term fixtures to try and have a little look at how many fixtures each team has. But I think it'll be just a little bit easier to just do that a little bit later when we know Spurs, United, Chelsea, how they get on in Europe, because we will have Game Week 33 European fixtures and Game Week 34 would be the second leg put in. So we'll come back to that at a later episode. So let's start off with my team, Arsenal, first. So 1-1 draw against Brentford. There were big changes in that one. It was a disappointing result still as an Arsenal fan. But it's the same with the Everton rotation as well. Both of them have led to dropped points, really. But can you really complain when you end up beating Real Madrid in both legs in the Champions League? I don't really think you can. So 1-1 draw against Brentford, but then 2-1 win against Real Madrid this evening. Bukayo Saka with the goal. Actually, a penalty miss in the first half as well, which was a real frustrating one, trying to do a Panenka at the Bernabeu. That's some balls, that. But Martinelli rounding it off at the end in the 93rd minute. So back to Brentford. Saka, Ødegaard, Timber, Skelly, Marino all rested for that match. So again, maybe that's a sign to come when we look to future game weeks. Maybe not PSG, where there's a week between Crystal Palace and PSG. I do feel like one of these Premier League matches, there could be that same level of rotation. Maybe it comes against Ipswich. Reward the guys that done the business tonight with a bit of a rest. Or maybe it goes and happens in that Crystal Palace match and then gives a bit more of a rest period for the players ahead of PSG. It is a really hard one to call. But I do feel like it's safe to say that Arsenal aren't going to put out a full strength lineup for both of those fixtures in the double game week. So Saka, let's start with him. So he was benched again before the Brentford match. I really did think that he'd start this one. But again, on the bench, saved for the Real Madrid fixture. My confidence has now been dented to say with any certainty that he is going to start twice in game week 32. But we've seen across these last few game weeks that he doesn't really have to start to get these returns. So he's had 2 goals, 2 assists in 5 matches since coming back from that injury. So I still think that Bukayo Saka is a really, really good option to have in your team. Just be aware he may not get the 2 starts. So maybe that will hinder your decision whether or not you want to make him a captain for your team or not. But I still think that we can't completely rest him. We do still have to keep his minutes ticking over ahead of these Champions League matches. So I still think Saka is still a great player to have in your team. 9 points this evening. Could have been a villain. Could have been a villain if his pen miss had ended badly with the result, but redeemed himself with that nicely taken chip in the second half. Declan Rice. So star man of the match in both matches against Real Madrid. He's just in incredible form at the minute. He had his 2 free kick goals in the first leg. No attacking returns in this match in particular, but he was outstanding. He's come away with 6 points, 9 PPMs, got him 3 bonus as well. So again, ever reliable for bonus points. He did get the assist against Brentford. So that takes him up to 7 goals, 9 assists for the season. And that's equaled his season attacking returns from last season. So still got a little way to go. It looks like he's probably going to set a personal best, well, not personal best, but for Arsenal with these attacking returns this season. Only Saliba and Raya have started more games than Declan Rice this season as well for Arsenal. So very reliable. Started both games in the double game week this week. Probably has got a rest coming, but we need him. We need to rely on him. Jorginho currently out injured as well. Saliba. Now, I'd put Saliba in this order first before Timber, because at the time when I started making these slides, I didn't know whether Timber was going to get through tonight without picking a yellow card up. If he had been booked this evening, he would have been suspended for the PSG game. I actually brought Saliba in last week because I didn't want to take the risk of bringing him in and then him ended up getting suspended. But luckily enough, Arsenal got away without getting these suspensions for PSG. So Thomas Partey actually did get a book in, so he'll miss the first leg against PSG. It was looking like Declan Rice might have also been suspended for giving away a penalty, but VAR overruled it and they obviously rescinded the yellow. So Declan Rice can play now in game week 33. But Timber, I think, is a great option in defence. He was rotated for the Brentford match. I do think he is the better dream team point scorer out of him and Saliba. The only thing I would say is Timber is probably a little bit more likely to be rotated. So you've got to weigh up whether or not you think it's minutes and starts versus who's the better dream team pick. I'm not completely against even doubling up on those two, but I think you'd probably be safer on doubling up on Arsenal by going for David Raya in goal. So strong fixtures for Arsenal. I think this double game week, Ipswich and Crystal Palace, surely has got some clean sheets there. And you wouldn't be surprised, I don't think, if Arsenal did manage to pull off a clean sheet against PSG in Gameweek 33. Maybe that's my deluded mindset, but the way that we'd sort of change our game to play these bigger sides like PSG, I think can't be ruled out. Then you've got Marino. Now, I haven't been that keen on Marino as a pick. I know a few of you have gone there, but he's been super, super impressive again. So he got his goal, didn't he, in the first leg against Real Madrid. And then he's come away with 2 assists in this match in the second leg. 10 points for him in this Real Madrid game. So he's 8 goals, 5 assists now for the season. I still don't think I'm keen enough to bring him into my team. But at this stage of the season, if you are looking for a differential, I think you could do worse. Let's look at Manchester City next. So 5 games unbeaten now for them. They are starting to kick on and they've still got it to play for, fighting for those European places. And as we do get nearer to the end of the season, I do think it is worth looking out for these teams that still have got things to play for. Great comeback from 2-0 down against Crystal Palace to win 5-2. But they do have a tough double game week to come. So I do think when you look at Everton, Aston Villa as a double game week pairing, I don't think it looks the worst. But Everton are in really good form themselves. And we've seen from Villa that PSG performance, they can mix it with the big teams. They've always caused my team Arsenal problems. So I do think that this double game week could be a tough one for them. When we look at some of these teams that are in the FA Cup, so it's the double this week, and then they've got their FA Cup semi against Nottingham Forest in Gameweek 33. When we look at these FA Cup teams, their potential final will take place in Gameweek 36. So as we look on the fixture ticker now, they've got Bournemouth in Gameweek 36, where that's a weekend fixture, and the FA Cup will obviously be at the weekend if they get to the final. That Bournemouth fixture is most likely to get moved back a week, so it will go into Gameweek 35. So just something to keep an eye on. These teams that do reach the final potentially will have a double game week still to come as well. So again, looking at this, it's a double game week, but how sure can you be that these players are going to start twice? City have got a decent squad. There could be rotation there. If they do play Villa, there'll only be a 3-day gap between that Villa fixture and the Forest semi-final. So whether or not Man City will rest players, I'm not sure. But where they are trying to mix it and try and get that European place, I feel like it's probably only likely that they make these early subs or rotation if the game is in the bag, I think, especially against Villa, who are trying to get that place as well. So Marmoush, 13 points. He's my favourite option this week from Manchester City. So 13 points for him. Got his goal. And he's hit double figures in 3 of his last 5 matches. So 4 goals, 1 assist in those 5. He's had an 11 average in those 5 matches. And I do think he's a genuine captaincy contender. So I will do a captaincy section at the end. But I think on current form, Marmoush is a really good pick. I still feel like I've got unfinished business with him since bringing him in for that early FA Cup fixture, and he didn't really do anything. Took him out, got the hat-trick, and since then he's just been flying. So I do feel the urge to get him back in my team at some point this season still. Kevin De Bruyne, 17 points, so having a bit of a resurgence. We know that he is going to be leaving Manchester City at the end of the season. Will managers be getting him in for sentimental reasons? Will Pep now just play him all the way through to the end of the season? We're just going to be guessing, but he's got a goal and an assist, 17 points in this Palace match, and he did look like the De Bruyne of old. So hit the post early on, scored a lovely free kick, could have easily had another assist as well. So really good performance from him. I just don't know whether we can rely on his minutes, especially they're going to want to play him for that game week 33 semi-final. So can he play 90 and then 90 before that? I'm a little bit doubtful. So 87 minutes in this match. The match before was 90. I can't see him playing 4 90s in a row. I might be wrong, but before that, before those 2 near enough 90s he's played, he had a did not play, a 90 before that, and then just a 4 minute before that. So My guess is I think one of these matches he might end up being sub. But it's hard to say. If you had to pick one, you'd say that the Everton fixture would be the fixture that City would be more likely to rotate in, I think, with Villa being the tougher fixture of the two. But it really is hard to predict. I've tried to predict these teams a few times recently with Villa, with Spurs, with Arsenal, and completely got it wrong. So it's your best guess when it comes to this rotation. I still think I back Vardiol. So the last 3 matches he's played at centre back, but Kusanov was on the bench. I do still think there is a chance maybe Vardiol moves to left back and Kusanov comes back into the team. But both O'Reilly and Lewis playing at fullback have looked pretty good, especially O'Reilly. Grabbed another goal, 10 points in the match against Crystal Palace. He looks like an exciting player for the future. So Vardiol, I'd say it's a hold. Wouldn't necessarily be buying him though if you didn't have him already. One other person that could be interesting is Ortega, who subbed on for Edison in that Crystal Palace match. Edison, by the way, 4 assists now for the season. So got the assist for that McAtee goal. And McAtee, he's not someone that I'm going to pick, but I would like to see him keep scoring goals because I did not know that he had a backflip in his locker. So that was something interesting from this match. 11 points for McAtee. But Ortega 2.5. Now, I know most of us are now on a sort of Martinez in goal or Raya in goal, or you're stuck with Allison like me. But what I mean is most of us have been able to afford like a premium keeper now. But I still am seeing the odd person that hasn't really got the budget for a keeper. So Ortega 2.5. If you are still struggling and you didn't build budget earlier in the season, I think Ortega 2.5 could do a job for you for a couple of weeks. Let's look at Aston Villa. So starting to wonder whether it is the end of the road for this Aston Villa load up now. So a load of us have been piling up on Aston Villa players because they've still obviously had FA Cup, they still had Europe until this game week. So obviously been eliminated now from PSG, but they did put up a really good performance. So 3-2 against Paris Saint-Germain. 3-0 win against Southampton before that as well. So pretty good form other than the fact that they were eliminated from the Champions League. I still think Villa are a very top side. Challenging for Europe as well, so still got stuff to play for. I still think they're a great team, but will they have a little bit of an emotional hangover from being eliminated? I do think it's a possibility. And then in Game Week 32, Newcastle home, City away. That is a tough double. But looking at Game Week 33, Crystal Palace at Wembley, you'd have to say that Villa are the informed side now that Palace have just taken a pasting off 2 sides. So could still be another fixture to come, another double to come for Villa down the line with a potential FA Cup final. I think Conser's going to be the first guy that I pick out here. So 19 points this game week, an absolute monster haul. Quite jealous myself as I did really like Conser as a pick, but I opted to go for, I think Vardiol was in first, and then I think I went to Munoz as a priority. I felt like Munoz was a higher priority than Conser, but Conser's been incredible lately. So he keeps getting bonus points. And then he's popped up with a goal in this Paris Saint-Germain game. So obviously clean sheet against Southampton, goal against PSG, just his second goal of the season. And he could have had a third as well. So a really nice cross from Rashford. He just missed it. Couldn't quite get on the end of it. But yeah, could have been even more for Conser. So despite there not being a ton of doubles coming up now in the future with them being out of Europe, I still think Conser's a good pick. It's tough. I don't really see clean sheets against Newcastle and City. But I still think the rate he's been hitting bonus. He's still a solid defender to go for. Yuri Tielemans has been ridiculous. So 4 goals, 9 assists for the season. It's not amazing, but he's just been so reliable this season. So 47 starts in all competitions. 4 straight matches now he's had an attack in return, and he's the 6th highest mid in the game. So I think there could be something in it for next season that these players like Declan Rice, like Tielemans, who they get bonus points, they're available all the time, they start every match. I think there could be an argument just to pick and stick with them for the course of the season, because it just gives you one less person to have to worry about in your team, chopping and changing every week. It's easier said than done. I think you need to be a little bit disciplined with them because they're not the most exciting, but I really do think I would be keen to go for a Tielemans or Declan Rice next season and just keep them there because they are just so reliable. So Tielemans, again, performing really well. Did play a bit further ahead as number 10 against PSG. I'm not so certain that he's going to carry on doing that every week, but again, really impressive from him. Rodgers just the 2 points against PSG, 7-point assist though against Southampton. Again, just starting every single match. 14 goals, 13 assists for the season. Now, if you are looking to move off of some Villa players, which I think I will be doing myself, Rodgers is going to be the one that I'm just going to keep in there because always available, always a threat. And those attacking returns now, 14 goals, 13 assists is just incredible. So really good option, Morgan Rodgers. Marcus Rashford, is he the main man now at Aston Villa? So started both matches this game week. I really thought that Ollie Watkins was going to start the Southampton match. He started the Nottingham Forest match the game week before. But Rashford starting as the striker again. And then that made me just think, okay, maybe Watkins isn't fully fit. Maybe they're going to, where they're chasing the PSG game, go for 2 strikers or 2 key attackers for PSG. But no, again, Ollie Watkins on the bench, Rashford the main man. He's come away with 12 points in the PSG match. He's grabbed an assist, 3 bonus points. What's that? 2 shots on target, 2 big chances created. Really solid performance. Takes free kicks, takes corners. And I took him out this game week. I just didn't think that he would start the Southampton one. So I still think if you have got Rashford in your team, there is an argument that he is one of the ones that you might want to keep hold of. Asensio, though, on the other hand, it's not been a great week for him, has it? So 2 penalty misses. Now, Rashford only just subbed off before, I think it's Watkins won the penalty. So a sigh of relief if you did take Rashford out like me, that Rashford wasn't still on the pitch because Rashford would have taken it. But Asensio stepped up, missed it, or hit the target at least, so he gets his shot on target point, but missed the penalty. And then later in the game, they won a second penalty. And it really did look like Ollie Watkins wanted to take that pen, but Asensio stood his ground, said, no, I'm going to redeem myself here. Saved again. Now, Asensio was bowed out a little bit because McGinn scored the follow-up. So Asensio has somehow come away with a shot on target point and the assist points. But yeah, 2 penalty misses, -6 for 2 pen misses. I can't imagine he's going to be taking another one soon. Emery did confirm that Rashford is the main penalty taker. Then it's Asensio. I think he might have said McGinn, Tielemans, and Watkins. Finally gave us a little bit of clarity that there's many penalty takers, but I think that Rashford is probably now going to be taking them majority of the time. And will Asensio take the next one? I'm not so sure. I think possibly his hot streak has now cooled down a little bit because it wasn't the best game week from Asensio. But maybe if he slots those 2 penalties in, we're saying, wow, Asensio keeps doing it. So you got to weigh that up, but I don't think he's been that impressive, to be honest, over the last game week. And I would be keeping Rodgers ahead of him. And if I had Rashford now in my team and Asensio, I think Asensio is starting to look like the weaker link. Watkins did get his 15th goal of the season against Southampton, and I just cannot believe that he's not starting more games. A great finish from the Tielemans, ball over the top, but he looks like he's lost his place. Rashford started twice. I wouldn't keep hold of Watkins at this point. Crystal Palace. So disappointing result in the first fixture. 5-2 against Manchester City. Could quite easily have killed the game off if they'd have scored that third, but it was ruled out for offside. That was their first defeat in 7 matches. And the defeats are contagious. So they've been defeated again this evening against Newcastle. Now, I didn't watch that match. I've only watched the highlights because I was watching my team, Arsenal. But it doesn't look good, does it? 10 goals shipped this game week. Another 5 away at Newcastle this evening. Defence all over the place. Now, do we hold on to our Crystal Palace players? Because they've got a double game week still. It's Bournemouth at home and Arsenal away. Now, before today, I had written down that I do feel like obviously they'd go strong for Bournemouth. And then with a 3-game turnaround between that Arsenal match and the Aston Villa semi-final, I think that semi-final's got to be the priority now. They've just obviously lost 2 games back-to-back. I feel like it's a big ask now for them to be in the sort of European mix. So the priority has to be FA Cup, doesn't it? So do they then rotate quite heavily against Arsenal? It's a possibility. But some of their key players were subbed off, understandably, this evening. So Eze off in the 57th, Mateta off in the 56th. Munoz played the full game as he normally does. But Mateta also off at 45 in the previous match as well. So maybe they have still got the minutes, but I just think they're going to be careful and look towards that FA Cup match. I think that's the biggest game of the season now for them. So looking at Palace players, I would still hold Munoz and Eze because I still think you just want those extra games still. There's always a chance. And Munoz and Eze, still strong options. But I would say now that Mateta is probably the weak link there. Obviously, reduced minutes, 45 in the first match. Glasner did say he got it wrong by substituting him or by sort of changing the formation. But it's not looking good, is it? 45 and then 56 from a double game week from Mateta. He did get his 1 goal last game week, the first goal back from his injury. But now he's had 4 blanks in his last 5 matches. So I would say Mateta could possibly be a sell. Now, if you've got other single game week players in your team that you want to sort out, it could be a priority ahead of taking Mateta out. But I think Mateta could probably be a sell now. He's been gutted that he didn't take the penalty. Now, I didn't watch the match, but I saw someone say on Twitter that Eze kind of stole the penalty. I don't know whether that's true or not, but Mateta did seem like he was the main man when it comes to penalties. But Eze fluffed the pen. Terrible, terrible penalty. So, yeah, maybe Mateta gets him back, but overall, I think I would now sell Mateta. Eze got his goal, 9 points in the previous match. Could have had a second in that City match as well if he wasn't offside. So 8 goals, 11 assists for the season now. It's hard not to sort of be short-term thinking and with this pen miss and the 1-pointer be a bit disheartened and take him out. But I still think he is a strong, strong option. 7.2 averages within the top 10 players in the game, 42 bonus points. I think he's still a keep. But maybe your confidence has been dented on him as a captaincy option. So penalty miss in this Newcastle match, and there's a lot of them. Let me know as well. Let me know in the comments if you're one of the people that's managed to have a Saka penalty miss, an Eze penalty miss, and an Asensio double penalty miss. That's someone surely got them. They're quite highly owned players. Someone surely had all these penalty misses. So let me know if that's you. But yeah, main worry is just rotation. Do they rotate against Arsenal away from home? Now, if you're looking at Arsenal players, maybe you think that's a pro or a positive. Munoz, rare 0-pointer in that last match against City. Did get a bonus and tackles, but I wrote down there's no coming back, is there, from conceding 5. And he done it again this evening. Another 5 goals conceded. I can't believe that. Incredible, incredible form earlier in the season. And I must admit, he hasn't been the best since I've brought him in. Seems to have gone off the boil a little bit, but could have easily had another assist in that City game if Eze just hadn't have strolled offside. And he did still get a goal the week before. So I still think don't panic if you've got Munoz in your team, but maybe it's not a buy. On to Newcastle. So 6 wins on the bounce for them now. So it is just a single game week away at Aston Villa this game week. But now, I haven't included many single game week sides in this. Now, if you have got any single game week players you like the look of, by all means, comment them below and I'll give you my thoughts on them. But the reason I've included Newcastle in this is because if you are going to choose a single game week side or single game week players in your team, I do think the kinds you want to go for are the ones like Newcastle. Bang in form, scoring a load of goals, and still fighting up there for Champions League, up to 3rd now in the Premier League. So the fight is on. They're really pushing for it. I think they're going to get Champions League. But there's going to be teams now that, Liverpool, once they get the title won, Are they going to take their foot off the gas a little bit? Arsenal, mine's kind of on the Champions League and not so much the Prem. United, Spurs, sort of down the bottom, but safe in the Premier League, but nothing really else to fight for, just Europe. So Newcastle, I think, could be on the level where they're playing really good football. It is just single game weeks, but they're a decent side and they're fighting for stuff. So I do think Newcastle, strong option. I think we've got to talk about Isak because most teams are going to have him. And I think most teams should probably keep him. So 78.4% of the top 1K captained him this week. We all had a bit of doubt creeping in after the first match. So just an assist. Now, when you score 4 goals, you always think there's going to be a goal in there for Isak, but there wasn't in the first match. Just the 7 points for the assist. And then it was starting to look a little bit like it this evening, that it was going to be a repeat. So, like I said, I was watching the Arsenal game, but I had goal notifications on, and I kept seeing goal, Newcastle, nothing from Isak, goal, Newcastle, nothing from Isak. The goal finally did come, though. 11 points in that match against Palace, 3 shots on target. So, finished the week on 18 points. And if you captained him, you would have got 36. So, I think most Isak owners will be happy there. I think you probably just keep hold of him. So, if we look at the fixtures, Villa away, it's a tough one, but Newcastle are flying at the minute. They're going into this in really, really good form. Like I said, maybe Villa, their heads might be down a little bit after going out in the Champions League, potentially. So, I still think Newcastle will give them a good game. And then in game week 33, it's home Ipswich. And I think we're probably going to want to have Isak in that. Now, there will be double game week teams, but can we be sure that those sort of players are going to play twice? Not necessarily. But you can be sure that Isak is going to start. He's the penalty taker. He scores a ton of goals. I think he's still a really, really strong pick. So I think I'll likely be holding on to Isak still. Murphy, so followed up his brace last week with an assist in the first match this week. And then another goal and an assist this evening. So 10 goals, 12 assists for the season now. He's absolutely on fire. I wasn't particularly keen on Murphy. I wasn't particularly keen on loading up on Newcastle players, having Isak in my plans already. But yeah, incredible game week and an incredible season from Murphy. And Harvey Barnes at it again. So his turn to brace against Manchester United, 19-pointer for him. And he's come away with a goal and an assist this evening as well, 12 points. And that's 7 returns in 6 matches for him now. So Anthony Gordon come off the bench in both matches. But can you really take Barnes out of the side to start Gordon when Murphy and Barnes are both playing as well as they're playing? So I think at the moment, that front three has got to stay. So Barnes, Murphy, really, really good form too. I'd just be a little bit more wary of Barnes than Murphy because of the threat of Gordon. And then Trippier. So again, if you are thinking that these double game week players in defence, like say for example, Timber, is not certain to get 2, there's every argument that Trippier is a good shout. So 6 points in the first match without the clean, 3 bonus points. And then he grabbed an assist this evening to finish on 19 points for the game week. So that's absolutely huge. I think Trippier could be up there as a shout if you're looking for differentials at this point in the season. Fabian Schär's grabbed another goal as well, 16 points. But I still think I'd be looking towards Trippier out of that back line. On to Man United. So they've still got their European match to play. So we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. But no wins in their last 4. Got absolutely dominated by Newcastle. 2-2 currently in that first leg with the match taking place tomorrow. So we'll see how they get on. We had Onana left out the squad for the Newcastle match. Didn't make much difference, did it? So he's apparently going to be back in the lineup for that Lyon match. So wouldn't fret too much if you're with Onana, but if you get the opportunity, maybe you will take him out. Dalot got his 6th assist of the season, so someone that I was considering, but I went the Saliba route, but Dalot's done pretty well there, getting the assist against Newcastle for the Garnacho goal. Decent for bonus, decent for tackles. Still think you can't go wrong with him if they end up going through to the next round in Europe. Bruno, usually consistent point scorer, even without returns, but just the 4-pointer for him. Could have been 5. He's only 4 ppm, so very close to bonus. But the attacking returns may be drying up a little bit. 1 assist in the last 4 matches. We'll see if he can change that tomorrow. I don't think it's likely to be a problem, but if they do go out of Europe and it's just singles, eventually maybe we might want to look to move Bruno on, but he's still a very good pick. Some players returning for Man United, but I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference to picks. So you've got Mainu off the bench again. Dorgu did get rotated for Amas in this Newcastle match, but again, I mean, Dorgu was looking good for points, but maybe that's enough to put you off. We did have Xerxes getting injured, which it's been confirmed now he's out for the rest of the season. So if you're crazy enough to want a United attacker in Højlund, it's there, but I wouldn't do it. Chelsea, so Legia Warsaw still to play this game week, and then Fulham in a single next week. So only Palmer and Tosin kept their place from the first leg. So first leg into the Ipswich match, they were the only 2 players that kept their place. So again, Maresca, ton of rotation. 2-2 against Ipswich, hardly convincing performance from them. Palmer, 6 points. Again, it's not really doing what we want him to do. Got the assist for the Sancho goal, but it was a pretty solo goal. Sancho screamer. So did have a nice shot on target towards the end of the match, but I think most Palmer owners would be disappointed with that. He's not. I mean, 14 goals, 11 assists for the season is a decent return, but it's not. He hasn't been the Palmer of last season or earlier in the season over these last few game weeks. So Palmer was initially, and still probably is, a consideration for selling, in my opinion. But the only problem is Fulham away single now. We know they're 3-0 up from the first leg, so they're pretty much likely to go through, bar something crazy happening. And that would mean that there's a double game week in Gameweek 33. Would you want Palmer for that one? I think on paper, in theory, you probably would. But can you guarantee again that he's going to start both matches or get decent minutes in both? I don't think you are. So I do think maybe there's an opportunity to take Palmer out for the single in 32, maybe bring him back in 33. But I think over the rest of the season, these fixtures don't look great. Everton in 33, still a tough game. Liverpool in 34, tough game. Newcastle away, 35, tough game. Man United, 36. Should be tough game. And then Forest, final game of the season, away from home. So there are tough fixtures there still. It's just whether or not these double game weeks see him playing twice. I think it's too hard to predict Maresca. So I do think he is a consideration to sell. There might be a point in the season where we are trying to predict and trying to pick up these double game week players from Chelsea. I've gone on to FB Ref and just picked out the players that have had the most starts and most minutes for Chelsea. So Caicedo has had the most starts with 35. Don't think we're going to be picking him. But it's actually Cole Palmer with 33 after that. So maybe we're a little bit disappointed, but when you zoom out, he does seem the most nailed for starts at that club. Cucurella with 31 starts, Enzo 30, Colwell 29, Sanchez in goal with 28, and then Neto with 25. So probably does still point to the likes of Palmer, Cucurella, maybe Enzo Fernandez. He done pretty well in this match, 7 points. 6 ppm. On to Spurs. So 1 win in 5 matches for them. I thought the rotation had ended. It happened again, this one. So I just couldn't get my head around it. So the Southampton fixture, I was expecting that's one where they would rotate fairly heavily before the first leg. But no, full strength. And then ahead of the second leg, it's Wolves away. And then they do rotate. So really hard to predict again. But either way, 4-2 loss against Wolves and another pretty poor performance. So Son out with a foot issue in this game. And it's now been confirmed that he's going to miss the Frankfurt match. So disappointing if you had Son this game week. Not really anything you could have done about that one. Porro and Udogie, who looked so good in the previous European match, both benched, both unused subs. He had Kulusevski on the bench, coming off the bench, so he's going to be an option potentially going forward. But I just think it's very, very hard to pick Spurs players. They've pretty much got a full squad now, I think, apart from Son now picking up that injury. Richarlison off the bench. grabbed the goal, but yeah, I think it's going to be a hard one to try and pick players from these teams. Jed Spence, who I was quite hot on last game week, highlighted that he had attacking threat and he's come away with a goal, but it was in his own net. So just a 1 point for Jed Spence. 3 bonus points though, 10 ppm. He still does really well for bonus, and he was pretty unlucky with that own goal. But I expect Udogie and Porro probably are going to get the cup, and we're just going to be playing that guessing game. I think there's going to be rotation for all 3 of those. Solanke seems the securest for starts from Spurs. 7 starts in a row now, but he's not scored in any of them. Just 3 assists since January. So 4th of January, sorry, was his last goal for Spurs. So Solanke hardly in great form himself. You can get the starts, but are you getting the performances? And then Maddison, 4 starts in a row. That's a surprise for Maddison. He's normally someone that's rotated on and off. Started the season really well, but has been unreliable recently. Maybe he could be an outside option if they do think he's now sort of fit enough to play twice a week. But again, I just think you're asking for trouble a little bit with Spurs. I'd happily avoid. Let's have a look at captaincy for game week 32. So I'm going to put Saka up there first. I'm mostly going to talk through the double game week sides and maybe assume that they get the double. So Saka got his goal this evening, missed a penalty, but still looking pretty impressive coming back from injury. So 10 goals, 17 assists now for the season. Actually, no, sorry, that's 11 goals, 17 assists now for the season. 2 goals, 2 assists since his injury. I just think that the starts and the minutes are a little bit uncertain. You could definitely take the punt on it. Ipswich away, Crystal Palace at home. Ordinarily, you'd definitely be picking Saka for this game week. It's just the minutes and the starts that are a little bit uncertain. If I had to guess, I think it's probably going to be a start in one of them and the Nwaneri getting the other, with Saka maybe coming off the bench, but I think it's very hard to predict which one it could be. I think there's maybe a chance that he gets the rest for Ipswich coming off of that pretty intense game against Real Madrid and then gets the start against Crystal Palace, if I had to guess. Marmoush, I think, is a really nice option. So he's the most informed striker at the moment on the game. Double digits in 3 of his last 5 matches. 7 goals, 2 assists now for the season. Minutes and starts, I'd say, feel safer than Saka's, but Pep is Pep. We know what he's capable of. And like I said, there is that FA Cup semi-final 3 days after the Villa match. So you'd imagine Marmoush is going to start that. But does he get early substitutions or does he get a random benching? We know Pep is capable of it, but I feel Marmoush just a little bit safer than Saka for minutes potentially. We don't know whether or not he's the penalty taker yet or not. I assume that he would be with Haaland out, but yeah, he took him at Frankfurt, but we haven't yet seen him take him for City. Kevin De Bruyne, so back-to-back starts. I think this could be an outside differential captaincy if you think he's going to get plenty of minutes across these 2. His minutes are improving. Did play at the false 9 position against Crystal Palace in that match with Marmoush sort of out on the left. But I just can't say for certain again. 2 starts, 5 goals, 10 assists for the season for him. If we get the KDB of last week, you would definitely choose him, but I just don't know how often it's going to show up. You've got Eze, 8 goals, 11 assists. I wrote this yesterday. I put he's in good form, but maybe this evening puts you off a little bit, but I still think he is strong for starts and minutes. Again, chance that he gets a little bit of a rest, maybe approaching the FA Cup, but still 5 returns in 4 games for him, 42 bonus points. For Villa's double, you got Newcastle home, City away. I think those fixtures, the difficulty of them is putting me off going for a Villa captaincy, understandably, but I'd say Rodgers probably now as they come, he's the most likely to start 2 in my opinion. 14 goals, 13 assists now, but you could go for Rashford, the main man, the new striker. Watkins, get out, we don't like you anymore. We've got Rashford, we want to convince him to sign long term. We're going to start him in every single game. So Rashford could be an option, but I think I prefer the guys I've listed above. Or if you are not convinced that any of these players are going to get the 2 starts, there is still a Salah single away at Leicester, but 5 games without a goal now for Salah himself. So don't think many will be going there in a single. Right, quick team update. So this was, like I said, recorded after the Arsenal match. We've still got European fixtures to come for Chelsea, Spurs, Man United. But I'm on 90 points as it stands, 3,946 points in total. Fallen from 128th at the start of the week to 139th. Still 2 players to play in Bruno and Palmer, but I imagine everyone's got them anyway. So my 2 moves this week were Marcus Rashford out, 15-pointer transferred out for Alexander Isak, but Isak given the armband. I needed to get Isak in. I decided to take Rashford out and leave Rodgers and Asensio as my Aston Villa players. So I think I'd have been better off if I'd have kept Rashford in and removed the other 2, but I just thought that Rashford would probably be benched for Southampton with Watkins starting, and then Rashford would play the single against PSG, which I didn't think looked that appealing. Actually, turned out it was the match that he ended up getting the most points in. So, yeah, got that move wrong. Would have been better off taking out either Asensio or Rodgers. But like I said, I'm happy to keep Rodgers in the longer term. Asensio, on the other hand, maybe starting to get a little bit fed up with him. Konsa was the big rank killer, I think, as well as Martinez in goal. So a clean sheet for Aston Villa, and I've got no Aston Villa players. So I've got Alisson in goal, got me 4 points. Another frustrating clean sheet wipe. The same with Saliba in that match against Brentford as well. It looked like the clean sheet was on, but conceding late. And Saliba actually at fault for Arsenal conceding this evening as well. So not very pleased with Saliba this week, but he's outscored Gabriel, who I took out finally, who's been injured for a couple of weeks now. Munoz, has he ended up with a 1-pointer? The guy that never really blanks has blanked twice. I don't think it was so much him blanking. I think it was the 10 goals that he conceded that was a problem there. Vardiol, 2 points, but I think that backline is just fine to keep hold of for the next game week. Maybe Alisson could be improved at some point soon, but with Leicester in a single, is this the right week to do it? I've got Palmer, 6-pointer with the assist. He's got Legia Warsaw maybe to play. 3-0 up. I'll be surprised if he starts, to be honest. I've got Rodgers, 9-pointer. Bruno Fernandes, 4 with Lyon still to play. Asensio with 5. After his 2 penalty misses starting Southampton, obviously got the assist for the rebound of one of those penalties, but yeah, pretty poor week for him. And then just the 24 minutes against PSG, had a really good chance towards the end in a 1-on-1, but couldn't quite put it away. So disappointing week for Asensio, I think. Bukayo Saka with 10 initially. Disappointment that he didn't start Brentford, but I feel like with Saka, most of us are in the same boat. But yeah, great performance this evening. It looked like it might be a frustrating one with that penalty miss, but grabbed that goal, got 3 shots on target as well in that game, and tackle points too. And then Isak, 36 points with the armband on. That one finally did pay off, but I think if you'd have told me that 9 goals would be scored by Newcastle this game week, I'd have thought that Isak probably would have got more than 1 goal. But just a 1 goal, 1 assist for him this week. Then Salah, decided to keep him up top. Didn't want to lose him for this game week. Wanted to still have him for the Leicester match. Just a 7-point assist for him. So initial thoughts for next game week. But like I said, there's still matches to come tomorrow or tonight by the time you're listening to this. I think the logical thing would be to look at the non-double players. So that would be Alisson at Leicester, Palmer away at Fulham, Bruno home to Wolves, and then I've got a strike partnership of Isak away at Aston Villa and Salah away at Leicester. So Alisson, Palmer, Bruno, Isak, Salah. I think Salah and Alisson against Leicester, there's no rush to take these 2 out, is there? Let them get those 2 wins and finalise the Prem title. I think Palmer's been poor, but with 1 foot in Europe, do you want to take him out ahead of doubles? I don't fancy it against Fulham, to be honest, in a single, but I probably would want him the week after for the double. Now, Asensio is proving to really not be a double game week player. I think deep down we knew it when we brought him in after that run of attacking returns, but he's been getting between like 90 and 110 minutes across 2 matches now. And looking at those doubles, Newcastle at home, City away, do you expect him to start too? Probably not. Having been benched PSG, I think he's probably more likely to play the Newcastle home match and then be benched for City away. And in the way that Aston Villa have been approaching these bigger matches, playing the likes of McGinn, a double pivot of Kamara, Onana, and Tielemans in front, wouldn't be surprised if come that single in the FA Cup, he doesn't start the FA Cup final if they get there. Doesn't start the FA Cup semi-final. So I think maybe Asensio could be the sort of player that makes way for me, even with a double. You then got Saka, I think stays. Isak and Salah. So they have just got single game weeks, but if you compare Isak, Salah, Palmer, Bruno with 90 minutes against an Asensio with maybe 110, you'd have to say those talisman sort of players that I've just named are above Asensio in the pecking order. So I actually think Asensio could be up for being transferred out. And then it will be one of those, I reckon, Salah against Leicester, Isak against Villa, Palmer against Fulham. I could, of course, make a goalkeeper change, maybe get Raya in there for 2 fixtures ahead of Alisson, but I just feel like I'm going to take out Alisson and he's finally going to keep that clean sheet. So those are my initial thoughts. The guys that I'm thinking about potentially bringing them in, so I've hypothetically removed Asensio and Palmer here. The guys that I'm interested in, I think, would be Marmoush. I think he's in good form. I think I like him for next game week and even the single. He's doing all right. Eze, is it a blip? Are these last 2 matches a blip? He did well in the first match still. I still think Eze is a really good pick. And then Declan Rice as well. Steady. Avoided that yellow card, so will be available for game week 33 in a single. He is due a rest. He played the double last week, but in general, he will play the bulk of games. We know he's on free kicks now. We know he takes corners, so I still think he is a solid pick. I think Marmoush, Eze, Rice, my top 3 targets. Like I said, I could still swap the keeper, maybe if I wanted to get a Raya in, if I didn't want to transfer out one of these sort of talisman players. But they're the guys I'm liking the look of. If I could trust Kevin De Bruyne's minutes, I think he would be a shout as well. If you are looking for a differential, I think he's a decent shout, but I just don't love it. Maybe by the European fixtures still to come, I'll be a bit hotter on United, Spurs, Chelsea, but at the moment, I'm just uninspired by them as teams to target. That is everything for this episode. So if you've enjoyed it, please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and head over to our latest episode of the Dream Team Tonic podcast. I'll leave a link in the description below for that. And you should be able to just click if you're on YouTube and watch this next video